For many, this election is crucial in ensuring that their concerns are not sidelined, but most importantly, want a seat at the table to speak up.
A lot of concerns that I have are childbirth. A lot of women of color are currently at risk, way highly compared to women that are not of color.
Worried about the economy because when things go up, the cost of food and everything else is going up.
Campaigns will continue up until the eve of Election Day, and as Kamala and Trump spend more time in key states, campaigners like Harrison are optimistic that every knock and interaction with a citizen will translate to a vote either before or on polling day.
Rhoda, 4 days to the polls. There's still all to play for here, and the race is looking very close. Tell us more about what you're seeing in the latest polls.
Well, in the latest polls, just like you mentioned earlier, polls do keep changing every single day. So, but in many of the polls that have been conducted by various organizations, Trump and Kamala are both of them leading by 1%, and all this would vary on the days that the polls have been released. But what a lot of political experts are saying is that many should not be banking on what the data is saying from these particular polls, because if we look at the particular style of canvassing that both campaigners from these teams are using, is to go to these key particular states where there are what they are known as swing states, because the voters could vote either way to be able to persuade the voters who have not yet decided who they are going to vote for. So what a lot of political experts are saying is that the numbers, of course, would show that either Kamala is leading by 1% or Trump is leading by 1%, but it all boils down to how many people will indeed go out and vote, either by the various strategies that are available to vote here in the US.
Tell us more about what sort of action will be seen in these key swing states that, quite significant in this election. Tell us more.
In these particular states, we're seeing both Kamala and Trump doing a lot of campaigns. Some of them are doing two campaigns or three campaigns. Like today, for instance, both of them will be in Wisconsin, one of the key states. And if you look at the geographic and the political turnout of voters in this particular state, in 2016, Donald Trump was able to garner enough votes from this particular state to be declared president. And then in 2020, Biden was also able to get a majority of the votes for him to be able to be declared president in this particular state. And that is why both of them will be in this particular state campaigning to be able to ensure that they are able to persuade the moderate and undecided voters in messages that they're targeting for them to be able to go out and vote. They're using various ways such as apps, phone banking, calling them, and they're not only targeting the super voters, and these are voters who have been voting in every election cycle, but they're also targeting first-time voters and ensuring that those who are eligible to vote, whether Africans, Hispanics, Black Americans, and even the Americans themselves, would go out and vote either Democrat or Republican.
Rhoda, what issues would you say matter most to the African or the African migrants that you've spoken to there? Because, this election is being followed quite closely, even here on the African continent.
It is, and if we look at particularly for the African Americans and the African diaspora here, some of the key issues is, of course, housing. Most of them are not able to afford proper houses that they can be able to raise their families. A key concern for them is that they would like to own homes, especially when you're talking about homes, it's more of townhomes. Education is also a key issue where they're saying there are a lot of disparities, access to healthcare, and also if we look at immigration for those people who are migrated here and are staying here, they're saying that they're not getting policies that are able to address some of the concerns that they have. And if we look at the African continent, looking in some of what African countries and why they're mostly concerned about this particular election, is the foreign policy relation that African countries has with America. Number one of them is, of course, the military cooperation with states in the Sahel. We also look at the trade agreements within the U.S. African countries, and of course, healthcare. If we look at the funding model by different African countries, they do depend a lot from funding from the U.S. government.
Well, Rhoda, in some of the elections that we've covered earlier in the year here on Focus on Africa, the issue of voter apathy came up, where voters felt that it doesn't matter who they elect, they basically felt the political class is not addressing their issues. Has voter apathy come up in some of the discussions you've had, even with the story that you just told us there, and how rampant a challenge do you think it will be?
It has indeed come out where people, yes, they want to vote, but some of the people I've been able to talk to, especially African Americans and Africans in the diaspora who are living here, African migrants, some of them would say that, yes, they've been living here for the last 24 years or 35 years, but they've seen the same issues that have always been there, not being addressed. Some of the issues that they've continuously say that they've not been addressed is the issue of housing, the issue of equality when it comes to their children accessing education, and also the aspect of healthcare. They're saying that as much as, yes, policies have been set aside, and with the US having a different structure of federal and other states, the states would vary from, for instance, Washington here, states like Pennsylvania, the laws would not be the same, but of course there would be several federal laws that are governing all the 50 states in the United States. So the key issues still remain the same theme, the economy. A lot of people are saying that cost of food, a liter of milk, bread has gone up due to inflation, and also crime rates. Rates have gone up. If you look at different studies that have been done by different centers, they're saying that crime is also a major issue, especially in those key states where both Kamala and Trump are campaigning.
Orodo Odhiambo, thank you so much for keeping us updated on the state of the race of this U.S. election. Joining us from